Hello everyone, we're back with another video. We are now going to do section 7.3 on simple interest. And let's see, we need some formulas. We need some formulas for simple interest. And I believe we talked about the formulas already in the last video. So I think I gave the formulas, but just in case, let me give them to you one more time in case we did not um, have them in the last video. It's just too much to remember. So let me stop sharing here. And for 7.3, we have some formulas on simple interest. And what is simple interest? I need to define this first. So simple interest is interest paid on the principal only. So it's not interest paid on the interest that we have already earned. That's called compound interest. When we get paid, say we open a savings account, and after 1 year, we have accumulated interest. And so now we're going to get paid on the original principal and the interest that we have already earned. That's compound interest. So it's interest that is paid on the principal, the original principal, and on the interest already earned. But simple interest is just interest paid on the principal. So interest paid on principal. And so we will be using two formulas here. So the formulas for simple interest. All of these formulas are in the in your workbook. And when you go to the back of the workbook, you have all the formulas for the course, and you have those are you remember you can use all your notes when you take your test. So it's wise to have them there with you when you take your test. So formulas for simple interest. We have the first one is for the I equals P times R times T. And I is the total amount of interest. This refers to an amount of money. It does not refer to the interest rate. So total amount of interest. R is the annual, okay, keyword annual, simple interest rate in decimal form. Decimal form, if you're going to plug it in, when you use this formula, the R has to be written in decimal form, not in percent. And T is time in years. So make sure that when you're working these problems, if time is given to you in any other way and not years, before you plug in the time into the formula, you need to convert in the to years. So say they tell us that it's 51 weeks, right? Say time is given to us in weeks, 51 weeks. Well, we have to convert to years, and we will write 51 divided by 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. Okay? So that's the first formula. Now the second formula is future value. So I'm going to use A to represent future value, is equal to principal plus interest. Now, one way to write it is like this, or you can also write A equals P times 1 plus R times T, which is the same thing because when you distribute the P, you get P times 1 is P, and then P times R times T, which is just the I formula, right? but you can write it either way. Sometimes it's useful to write it this way because the problems that we're going to do require us to find maybe R or T. So it's probably best to write it in the second form. Now, they're equivalent. So P is principal. Okay, so P is principal. Oh, I forgot to define here in the I formula. Remember here, P is principal. We also refer to principal as present value. Okay. So the principal here, and everything else is the same. A is a future value or future amount. So future value or future amount, A. Okay, so those are the two formulas that you will be using, that we will be using in this section. Now, when you read a problem, when you do the homework, it's very important that you read it very carefully, because if nowhere in the problem you see the word compound, then that means that you're dealing with a simple interest question. And so you only have two formulas to use, right? I tell you this because when this chapter 7 on finance has a lot of formulas. And so it is very important to know which one we're going to be using. And that comes from reading the problem very carefully. And if the word compound is not in the problem, then it's going to be a simple interest question, right? And unless you read compounded this many times, then it's going to be simple interest. Okay, so I think that's all we have to say here about formulas. We're going to move on to the problems. And I'm going to start. Let me share my screen here. And we're gonna do some of these problems. So let's try number 1, 7.3. And so what are we doing here? 7.3, it's asking us, so it gave us number 1, the principal is given. So we know the principal is 21,000. So I'm gonna write down what I know. Principal is 21,000. The interest rate is 6%. Notice that the interest rate is given as in percent form. Percent form must be converted to decimal form. And to do that, you write 6 divided by 100, which you get 0.06 in percent form. And then time is 3 years. Notice that time is already 3 years. So because it's in years, I don't have to convert to anything else. It's already in years. In simple interest, that is what, that's not the interest rate. Simple interest is the amount of interest. So we're looking for I. And so let me stop sharing here. So I wrote down what I know. Principal is 21,000. Interest rate is 6%, but notice that they gave it to me in percent form. So I must write it in decimal form by dividing by 100, and then so you get 6%, and so you write it as 0.06, right? It's kind of blurry, so that's why, oh, there we go, okay? So 6 divided by 100, you get 6%. Time is given in years, so you don't have to rewrite this because that's already years. And we're looking for I. Now, what is the formula? We're dealing with simple interest because we know that nowhere in the problem it says it's compound interest. So the formula is I equals P times R times T. And we're looking for I, so the principal is $21,000. The interest rates are going to multiply by, you don't have to write 0.06, you can write 0.06 times 3, right? And so I equals, so you use your calculator, and it's 21,000 times 6% times 3. So you use your calculator. So you write, you're gonna enter 21,000 times 6%, right? 6% times 3 years. And so we get 3,780 for the total amount of interest, which is a lot of interest, but then the loan had a high principal, is 21,000. So we get $3,780 for the interest, right? Number one. All right, so that is number one. Number one. And let's move on to the next question. Let's look at number three. Now, number three is asking for the interest rate. So we have the principal is $500. The interest rate, they want it in percent form. Look at the sign, they want it in percent form. And then, so the interest rate, I'm looking for the interest rate. Time is already given in years, so we have 5 years. And the simple interest is 205, so that's the amount of interest that's given to us. And so you write what we write what we know. And so the formula again is going to be I equals P times R times T. We know that I is 205, so we're gonna plug that in. The principal is 500. The interest rate, I'm looking for that. The time is 5 years, so I'm gonna multiply all that. So you get 205. You multiply 500 times 5, which is 2,500 times R. And to solve for R, you're gonna divide by 2,500, both sides of the equation. We just gonna cancel the 2,500 on the right side, so R equals 205 divided by 2,500. It gives us, this is a rate, but notice that we get this in, we get the answer in decimal form, but they want us to write it in percent form. So we're gonna multiply by 100. When we do that, then we move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and this becomes 8.2, but we add the percent sign, right? So then the answer is 8.2%. 8.2%. Okay, so that's number three. Number three. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. We're gonna do number 5 as well. It says find the missing value. So we have a little more of that. They really want us to practice with this formula, right? So we have, let's see, 5. The principal is 100. The interest rate, we do not know what that is. We're looking for it. Question mark here. And then time, notice time is 30 months. So we have to convert because 30 months, the time is not given in years. So we have to change that. Simple interest, so I is $52. And so we're looking for R. We're gonna use the same formula, I equals P times R times T. And then we're gonna plug in what we know, 52 for I. Principal is 800. I do not know R. 30 months, so I have to convert. So I'm gonna write 30 months divided by how many months in a year, by 12. So you have to multiply by this fraction, 30 over 12. Now, then we write 52 equals, so time again, because it's 30 months, that must be converted to years. And so we have 30 months divided by how many months in a year? 12. Now you're gonna multiply 800 times 30 over 12. So let's see what that gives us. 800, I'm sorry. 800 times 30 over 12. And we get 2,000 for that, 2,000 times R. Now to solve for R, we're gonna divide by 2,000, both sides of the equation, which cancels the 2,000. And so R gives me, I get 0.026 in decimal form, but I must convert, right? So if R is 0.026, I must convert to percent form. So I'm going to multiply by 100, which is going to move the decimal point two places to the right, and this becomes 2.6%, right? Which is what I needed to find. 2.6% is the rate, the simple interest rate that we were looking for. All right. So that's number 5. So these problems 1, 3, and 5 are basically just practicing with the I formula. All right, let's move on to the next one. Now 7 has 3 parts, okay? And so let's read it. It says that the following loan is discounted. Find the discount, the amount of money received, and the true interest rate. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through the problem. The discount is basically the interest. So if the loan is discounted, it means that, you know, they're not gonna receive the entire principal, right? So they're gonna receive the principal minus the interest. So they're gonna remove the interest from the principal before they give the principal to the person. So the loan is discounted, so we have to take the principal minus the interest amount, which will give us the amount of money received. The discount is just the interest, so it's I. We have to find I. And then the true interest rate will be based on the actual amount that was received and the original principal. So I'm going to walk you through these 3 parts. Okay, so let us write the information that we know for number 7. And remember that A, you need to find the discount. Let me just write this down. And B, we need to find amount received. And then C, we need to find the true interest rate. And so what we know is that the original principal is 2,380. The interest rate is 2%, which I'm just going to write as 0.02. And T is already given in here, so I don't have to convert. It's 2 years. Okay, so once I have all this information, then I can start working. Okay, so in order to find the discount part, I'm going to use the formula I equals P times R times T. And I'm going to find the amount of interest. And the principal is 2,380. The interest rate is 2%, so 0.02 or 0.02. It can be written either way, times 2 for years. And so you get the amount for the interest there, which it is 2,380 times 2% times 2 is $95.20. So that's the discount amount. $95.20 is the discount amount. Okay, that's the discount amount. Now for B, for the amount received, then we have to subtract. We have to take 2,380, and we're gonna subtract the interest. So this person's taking the interest ahead of time, right? And it's only lending the remaining part. So that's gonna be 2,380 minus the interest. So it's like you're paying, okay, think of it as they're charging the interest on ahead of time, ahead of time. And they're only lending 2,284.80 to the person. Okay, so this is the amount received, the 2,284. Okay. Now, the true interest rate then, because we have a different amount received, we have to see what the true interest rate is. So we have to now go back here to use the formula again, a second time, this formula I equals PRT, because we have an I amount, right? We know it's 95 and 20. We have a principal amount that is different than what we started with. So the actual principal amount is 2,284.80, right? That's the real principal. Now let's figure out the real interest rate, right? We still know that time is 2 years. That didn't change. And so you figure out the interest rate based on these numbers. And so you get 2,284.80 times 2, multiply that times 2. It's gonna give you 4,569.6 times R, 95.2. And then go ahead and divide by 4,569.6, both sides of the equation. That's gonna cancel. And so when you have 95.2 divided by 4,569.6, that gives you an interest rate. Now it's gonna be in decimal form. You're gonna need to round this to the nearest, but don't round yet. So what you get here is 0.0208, and then we get how many threes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now multiply by 100, and that gives you 2.08, and then all of those threes. I'm gonna just put it for repeat. But then you want to round to the nearest hundredth of a percent. So you say, well, it's gonna be 2.08%. 2.08%. That would be the answer. Okay, in percent form. So that's the true interest rate. That's the true interest rate. And so that's problem number 7, parts A, B, and C. A, B, and C. Number 7. Okay. Yeah, let's see. So let's move on to the next question. So this section is very, very good section. Has very good problems. Now let's go to number 9. Now 9 reads, Fred started a new e-commerce business, which are very popular nowadays, and borrowed $14,100 for 15 years to get the business up and running. The interest is $6,345. Find a rate and round to 2 decimal places if necessary. Okay, like there's a lot going on in this problem, but notice that nowhere in the problem it reads that this is compound interest. So we are dealing with simple interest. And so when you do not, if you do not know how to start a problem, just say, okay, is it compound interest or is it simple interest? Well, this one I know is simple interest because nowhere in the problem do I see the word compound. So then I know it's going to be one of the 2 formulas. So start writing things down, like what do you know? The principal is 14,100, so I'm going to write that down. And then time is 15 years, so I know it's 15 years. And then the interest, oh, okay, so they're giving me the total interest, so that's I. 6,345, right? And then they wanted me to find the rate and round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so it looks like one of those questions where I can use the I equals PRT formula, right? Because you look at the things that you know, and that's how you can tell, okay, you're like, okay, because I know that I have P, I have T, I have I, then I just need to find R. I can just use this formula, right? And then find the interest rate. So the principal is 14,100. The interest rate is what I'm looking for. The time is 15 years. Okay, what else do I know? I know I, so I plug in 6345 here. And then 14,100 times R times 15. Then you multiply the 14,100 times 15. And that gives you 211,500 times R. and we have 6,345 on the left side. You're gonna divide by 211,500, both sides of the equation, which cancels the 211,500 on the right side. And so we have 6,345 divided by 211,500. This is going to be in decimal form, right? It's going to be 3%. You multiply by 100 and you get 3% for the simple interest rate. All right, so you get 3% for that. That's number 9. Number 9. And so as you're watching these videos, if I'm going a little too fast, and I know most of you will do this, you're gonna stop, write the problems and write things down, because I do tend to go a little fast. Again, please provide your feedback. Don't forget to give me feedback on these videos if they're helping you. So let's move on to the next question. This was number 9. Next problem is number 11. It reads, Berger car rental borrowed $9,569 at 5% interest to cover the increasing cost of auto insurance. Find the term of the loan, okay, in months, if the interest is $358.84. Oh, okay. All right, again, it may seem like a complicated problem, but nowhere in the problem, I know, nowhere in the problem it reads compound interest, so this must be simple interest. So let's start writing things down, and it will make sense as we write things down. So how much did this person borrow? Berger current, this business, they borrowed 9,569. So the principal is 9,569, 5% interest rate. So the R is 0.05. The term, we want to find the time, and the total interest is I. So I is 358.84. Seems like it's one of those questions where I just plug in the information. So I equals, and then solve for the unknown, right? So I is 358.84. Principal is 9,569. Interest rate is 5%, 0.05. And time is what I'm looking for. So T. So I'm going to multiply 9,569 times 0.05. Which gives me 478.45 times T, 358.84 on the left side. Then you're going to divide 478.45. You're going to divide both sides of the equation by 478.45. Cancels that on the right side. And so time, remember we need time in years. So 358.84 divided by 478.45 gives me 0.75, right? This is, remember, 0.75, we're talking about years. So what is 0.75 of 1 year? Well, if you want to know, you multiply by, in terms of, since I don't have, so here's how you know what to do. You don't have a complete year, so obviously you're dealing with months. So if you take 12 months times 0.75, it gives you approximately, so it gives you 9.000 something. 1, 2, 3, 4, I get 4 zeros, and then 62702. Well, it's really 9 months. When you round, right? Round to the nearest month and you get 9 months. Okay. So that is number 11. Again, you ended up with 0.75. That's not a complete year, so I have to find out how many months is that. So I multiply the 12 months in a year times 0.75, which gives me 9.000062702. If I round to the nearest whole number, for the months, I get 9 months. Okay, that's number 11. And let's see, number 13 would be the last one I'm going to do. And then we'll move on to compound interest. So 13 is the last one for this section. Again, I do the questions I do are not are to give you a model for you to try. The ones I don't do on your own, and I encourage you to do that. Okay, so you watch the videos and then use that information, use that knowledge to work the problems that I don't do. The answers are in the back, and then you go to the homework and then try them on your own. Try the homework. That if you do that, you won't have to rely on the helping tools in the homework. Because a lot of students, what they do is they just go directly to the homework, they don't watch the videos, nothing. And then they rely on the question help for everything. And then when the test comes, the question help is not going to be there. So you're not trained. By the time they get to the test, they're not trained in problem solving. So problem solving requires training. And one part of the training is to not have all that help available to be able to work on your own. Now, if you do get stuck, you get stuck and people will get stuck. There's nothing wrong with that. We get stuck, then we seek the help, right? But we definitely have to try it on your own first. After you watch these videos and you try some of the problems on your own, then you can go to the homework and do the homework. Okay. Number 13 is the last question. Okay, let's read this. It says, when Cecilia's car needs a new transmission. Oh, I definitely remember. I think I'm in that situation. I hope not, but I may need to get a new transmission or a new car, and we will see. So when Cecilia's car needs a new transmission, she's stuck with a bill for $1,532. Wow. The dealership offers her an 18-month loan at 14.5% interest to be repaid in 18 equal installments. Find the monthly payment and round your intermediate steps to the nearest cent. Okay, so what's going on here with Cecilia? Cecilia has to pay the transmission, right? But Cecilia is going to borrow from the dealership the money to pay for the transmission. And so the principal here is 1,532. The time is 18 months and the rate is 14.5%. So we're gonna figure out the interest that she's going to pay. And then we're gonna add that to the principal so that we have the complete amount she needs to pay back to the dealership. And then once we have the complete amount, we divide it by 18 so that we see how much the payments are going to be, right? Again, you know, this is simple interest. It's not compound interest. Why? Because nowhere in the question do we see compound. So we have to deal with interest that is simple interest here. And that means we only have two formulas. And it seems like it's going to be the first one again, right? So what do we know? Let's write things down. We know that the principal she needs to borrow is 1,532. We know the time is 18 months. I'm going to write months because remember we need to convert to years. And then the interest rate is 14.5%, which if we round to the, not round, if we write in decimal form, it's 0.145, right? And we need to, so we have 18 equal payments, 18 equal payments. So we have to figure out the payment. All right, let me stop sharing here. Okay, so I'm gonna plug in the formula. I equals P times R times T. The principal is 1,532. The interest rate is 0.145 and the time is 18 months. You're gonna write 18 divided by 12. 18 divided by 12 because it's 18 months over 12 because there are 12 months in a year. You have to convert to the years. And then you multiply all of that, and what do we get? Let's see, let me clear this. So 1,532 times 0.145 times 18 over 12. And we get interest of $333.21, which we have to add to the principal. So the total amount the total amount, A, remember A equals the principal plus I. The total amount is the principal, which is 1,532 plus the interest, which is 333.21. And so that gives me a total amount of 1,865.21. So this is the total amount, but this is not what we're looking for. Total amount that Cecilia needs to pay back. Okay, so now Cecilia needs to pay back 1,865.21, but she has 18 months to do it. So the payment, you can figure that out by taking 1,865.21 and divided by 18, which will give us 100 payments of $103.62. Let's round to the nearest cent. So the monthly payment, this is the monthly payment. That Cecilia needs to make. This is going to be for 18 months. Okay. All right, so that's question number 13. And I believe that's the last question for this section. I'm going to go ahead and close this video now and end this video. And so thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. God bless.